They were transferring their businesses over here. So what does that tell us? That in crisis there's opportunity, and there's an opportunity to build sustainable long-term businesses out of crises, diba? We just have to keep on looking for what those businesses are. And I'm hoping that, I'm praying that the businesses which I'm thinking that are emerging and pivoting from Mercato are sustainable, that they don't just last during this crisis, but outside of this crisis, they might do even better. Hello, ito ba sa Transportify?
Hi everyone, we are back with one of your favorite entrepreneurs, and in my opinion, one of the really, really, really good ones in the country. Not just someone who is good at what he does, but has the heart to share it to a lot of people. We have the CEO, co-founder of Mercato, and one of the best hosts in the country as well,
Thanks so
RJ
much.
Ledesma, back in the podcast. RJ, how are you? 9 months after the lockdown, what's been going on?
Hi, thanks, Marvin. Thanks so much for having me back. And before everything else, thanks so much for doing a lot of the interviews that you put online during the crisis. I think it was key for many people. At the time, many of us were searching for what to do. Not just me, but other investors, other people trying to see where they should put their money. Not only that one, but people who were just coping with the crisis. So I think what you did was a lot of help to all of them. So it's 9 months on, and I remember, I rewatched the video that you took of me that time, and I realized that there's so much. As I was saying those things, I was also learning at the same time, and it's nice to look back. It feels like it's a year ago, right? When this thing happened. What's happened 9 months later? One of the key things I realized, I go back again to discussing about the. Sorry, my son's a bit noisy walking around here, but that's work from home, right? But that it all goes back to the idea of when you develop an entrepreneurial mindset, and also knowing what your business is and pivoting around the essence of what your business is. I think that's the first key thing I want to talk about, no? And the second one was really this piece of advice that I gained during one of my own interviews in my own shows. And I learned this from the president of Phoenix Petroleum, whose name is Bong Fadilion. Got a lot of great advice from him during the time. So first of all, now I'll take a look. I'll look back at what I call, really using that entrepreneurial mindset. And when I talk about the entrepreneurial mindset, it just means that you look at the world with opportunity. You look at it through what I call the entrepreneurial lens, right? So, as an entrepreneur, whether it's good or it's bad, whether the situation is good or bad, there's basically no value judgment for an entrepreneur. The job of the entrepreneur is to look for opportunities, and especially opportunities amidst crisis. Hindi pa ba? Diba? The WG, right? That's crisis. In crisis, there is opportunity. So when you see something like whether it's a problem with social distancing or a lockdown or a disruption in the food supply, he's not supposed to see it so much as, oh no, it's a problem. He goes, what can I see as the opportunity that can emerge from what's happening over here? So that's the first thing, diba? And at the start of the crisis, that's basically what happened to our business, which was Mercato Central. And in Mercato Central, the problem that emerged, the pain point that emerged was because the market closed down, I couldn't reach my customers. And my end customer, which are people like you, the patrons of the market, but at the same time, my B2B customers, my business-to-business customers were my vendors, right? So all of a sudden, I couldn't reach them. And what I realized is that, what is my basic, so that's a pain point, right? So that's the first thing. That's a pain point of how do I now get to my customers, right? But then I looked at what the essence of my business was about, and that's what I pivoted around. What's the essence of the business? Hindi ba the essence of my business is as an incubator of new food concepts? That's why, Marvin, you go over there, because you get to try all these new food who comes over there. So that's what I'm about. So you ask yourself, what is the best way for you to incubate a concept? Is being offline, being a brick and mortar structure the best way? Or given how things are evolving, given the pain points, can I also do this on an online basis, diba? So I took what was the essence of the concept, which is incubation, and moved it from an offline into an online concept, which was basically, first of all, I started off with creating an online delivery tool, market, where I could bring together, where I could aggregate all my small food vendors and sell through my platform. So that's the first thing that you did, right? So let me park that concept. Entrepreneurial mindset is key. The second one is the concept which I picked up from the chief operating officer of Phoenix, who is Bongfo de Leon. And I remember in an earlier interview with him, he told me, RJ, you know what? You have to open up your business right now. And I'm sure you're going to make mistakes. But he says you've got to make those little failures along the way. You've got to learn how to do business in this new normal. You take those little steps. It's like conditioning as an athlete, right? So that you are ready for when the competition starts again. Because he said, it can't be that nung nagka-COVID and everything locked down, you just shut down your business and you wait and then you just reopen the business when the quarantine is over. But if you did that, patay ka na, diba? Because the world is totally different after that time and it doesn't run well anymore. So instead, what you do is you try to iterate during the time. You try to learn how to do better business during that time. You try to see the little failures that you make happen during the time to adjust your business. So by the time that business opens up again, you're fully conditioned. You know exactly what to do, and you run the business. So those are the things that I learned during this time. So again, of course, you pivot your business as an entrepreneur because you realize that there's a pain point that you had to address. But of course, there are those many failures along the way. But the failure is very important because those I wouldn't call them failures, but rather iterations, diba? Because you've got to get to the correct business model. Sometimes you know exactly what to do, but you've got to keep on adjusting the business model until it's correct because you have to understand how has consumer behavior changed during this crisis. What things have occurred differently. So what did we do? So we realized, okay, first of all, people still wanted the experience of having sort of like Mercato's a one-stop shop. When you order from me, you hope to order everything from 5 or 6 vendors. But when you're online, because the vendors, although they are aggregated online, they are not aggregated physically. You still want to order from them separately. But if you do, the delivery costs increases, right? So what we just did is instead we said, okay, it might not work that way, but we're pivoting the online model right now. And what we said is we'll become the one-stop shop incubator for small food businesses that want to go online. Because what is their skill set of people who make food? I mean, they might be able to make good food, but they don't know, number one, what is my unique selling proposition to make the food stand out online? How do you market and how do you sell online? How do you become popular online? Or how do you scale your business? So right now we're sort of like a one-stop shop. You go to Mercato. We have a Mercato Academy where we can train you both offline and online to become better vendors, where we can teach you about food costing, where we can teach you how to make a unique selling proposition when it comes to food. But after you onboard with us, you not only onboard on Mercato's online delivery page, but you also get to onboard on our other online marketplaces where we made contacts with right now. So you onboard with us. That means you also onboard with Lazada, with Rizeli, with Ayala Zing. And all these platforms become available to you through Mercato. So all of a sudden, it was a one-stop shop for you to get to all these different platforms. So that's the way that you pivoted the model. And the other thing which we were also able to do during this crisis is we said that, okay, let's create if people, about a month and a half ago, the Ingat Angat Alliance was launched, which is basically a private-led sector initiative to help breathe life back into the economy, to bounce back people, where you try to balance health and economy. And we make sure that there are certain protocols in place before you reopen the economy. And this initiative was based on a study that said that about 62% of people were already experiencing that sort of fatigue or desire to go out to the public, but they want to eat, but they want to do that very cautiously. So we realize that people want to go out again. And we know that also that the IATF protocols were in place for people to eat out. So all of a sudden we created, we went through a long, strict process of creating a safe, socially distanced outdoor food market where people are able to go, which follows IATF protocols, where people can go and can eat out again, but following the mandates of the IATF. And so again, we brought back that incubation market which we had in the past, but we pivoted for this crisis. And we realized something even totally different right now. We realized that the people who need incubation right now are not just small food concepts, but also restaurants, because restaurants are also struggling in this new normal environment. So this time around, we invited both restaurants and small food vendors to join the market, to become part of this market. And it's been doing pretty okay. The first one we opened up is in BGC High Street. And the second one, which we opened up in December, is in SM Mall of Asia and SM by the Bay, where the fireworks are done. So that's where we're doing that right now. And we expect to open up a few more of these safe, socially distanced outdoor food markets at a time. And we also realize that when you do open up these markets, that there has to be a component also where we give back. And one of the, because it's very meaningful for people to eat in a place. Parang kumakain ka na dyan, nakakatulong ka pa. But at the same time, it's good for the soul. I mean, for me, I think it's very important to also help. So our beneficiary is called Save the Children Philippines. So a portion of our proceeds go to this foundation, which helps children from low-income families who have learning disabilities. We provide them with special educational material and alternative learning platforms so that they can get an education amidst this pandemic. So that's who we're helping out also at this time. And we continue to, in this manner, this socially outdoor market continues to work with our incubation concept. Our online delivery and online marketplace continues to work on our incubation concept. But now they can feed off each other, right? The great concepts from the online market can join my offline market, and my great concepts from the offline market can now be carried by the online market. So these are things which we are actively working on. And in 2021, you'll also see we will be developing our Mercato cloud kitchen food hall /food hall, because we've realized that there are many concepts which didn't do too well, and that closed down because of this crisis. And people, we think that in 2021, delivery will still be a very strong concept, but people will eventually go out. So we're bringing together some of Mercato's best brand and some incubated concepts into a cloud kitchen, because or what you call ghost kitchens, where people can order from one, because we're addressing the pain point, but they want to order from one place. But before, it was in different areas, so you couldn't get the same delivery fee. What if you could order all of Mercato's favorites all in one place and get it delivered to your place?
And what I like about Mercato is during this new normal, it's nicer to eat outside than indoors.
Yeah, that's sort of like a silver lining for us right now. That we just realized that the outdoor dining concept, which we helped really scale, is something that became very popular right now. Kumbaga, swak na swak during this time, and that's why we'll be opening up a few more following IATF protocols. But at the same time, nakakatulong pa kami. I think that's what's key. Like in Pasay, we've actually gotten the small stalls of the Pasay Cooperative over there. So people who lost their job na OFW, na seamen, na taga-barko, they're all there. I mean, and they were cooks. It's really good food. Like some people who lived in Japan, they had to move back. So they had really good Japanese food over there. Or some cooks sa barko who they were cooks on the ship and they couldn't cook anymore, so they came over here instead. So it's a really great learning experience for them, and it's a great time for them to expose their products.
I'm so curious about this. For people who want to open their own brick and mortar for 2021, regardless if it's food or non-food, as part of what they're selling, what are the things that you think that they should, stress a bigger preference on to be successful for 2021?
I think, well, first of all, it's the barrier to entry there really right now is that you've got to have a great e-commerce system and also online presence that you've got to create at once if you want to do that. And if the delivery model or the takeout model has to be just as good as your dine-in model, if ever, if you're in the food business, and that the proximity of your venue to areas of where there's concentration of residential, whether it is condo, whether it is villages or subdivisions, it has to be close enough to them for it to be relatively successful, because you've got to weather that storm. And I think also right now it's a good negotiation with your lessor to make sure that our board of advisors always tells us, it's all variable costs right now. Given the uncertainty of the situation, you can't fixed cost is very difficult to work with right now, but a percentage of cost, it makes things work for you. That's another consideration that you have to make, no? And if you're going to open something up, I think it's going to have to be essential it has to be what people would consider an essential good, because I don't know if you know, I also put up another business called Easy Franchise. And Easy Franchise is my platform that connects franchise owners with franchisees. And some of my franchisors really grew so big during this crisis. What grew? Water refilling, LPG, and milk tea. Why? Because during the crisis, people were cooking more at home. People still needed water. And people, they thought milk tea was an essential because it gave them a sense of normalcy. So these three which were successful were those primarily that were close to communities already, that were essential to the communities, that offered delivery at the same time. And so those they did very, very well. And they continue to do well right now.
Do you see it as a trend that, since you already mentioned that a lot of people will have to slug it out online, that the brick and mortar will be there for marketing purposes for people, for some dine-in services or whatever they're selling if it's non-food, but it will be primarily a fulfillment center so that they can cater to everyone who's ordering online, meaning smaller spaces with the intention of getting a bulk of my sales from the online space.
Well, that's basically what the Mercato Cloud Kitchen will be. That it's a location that it's really a fulfillment center. But if people want to eat in, there will be a portion of the area dedicated to that one. But like I said, no, it's an evolution. Diba? At this time, it might be eventually right now, it might be delivery fulfillment right now. Diba? We don't know how long the crisis is going to last, but eventually, we go through the phases of, eat in fatigue, or COVID fatigue, that they want to go out a bit and eat. So if they want to eat out, you've got to provide a dining experience for them, diba?
Yeah.
Kung, diba, to get out of the house nowadays, you've got to wear your mask, you've got to wear your face shield, you've got to prepare. So, syempre, parang you want the best value for money or bang for your buck whenever you go. At hindi pwedeng, so you want to have a good experience. So what I just realized, you've got to provide, if it's online, provide the best sulit experience for them that they can get online. If they order, they can order all from one place kasi big bang for their buck. If they go outside, same thing, diba? You've got to provide the best sulit experience at the same time. So fulfillment muna, then eventually it might become a combination of 50-50. And then maybe in the newer normal, in the better normal, people start going out again, and you can convert your space into a dine-out experience. Because there's nothing can beat the dining out experience pa rin. But in the meantime, you have to provide the best delivery experience that you can.
Given that we are still in a recession and there are a lot of people who got affected, what have you noticed in terms of people's spending behavior, in terms of how they consume food also? Did you see that they're more price conscious now, or because you're catering to a different type of market, does it matter what they buy as long as they like the food?
I think well, initially I'll talk about two things which I find very interesting, diba? At the start, everybody wanted to become a food entrepreneur. Diba? You realize that at that peak, diba, during March, April, May, June, everybody was getting into the food business. Diba? They were coming up with their own food. But then the only ones who stuck to it, because it was a high attrition rate, were those who had really unique food concepts. Diba? Really unique ones that stood out, and people were passionate behind their food, and they were the ones who succeeded and who continued to be there online. I just want to point that out because it's key. If you want to become an entrepreneur, you find that unique selling proposition, you solve a pain point, and you stick it out, and you'll still be there. In terms of food price points, what we've seen naman, diba, it depends again, it goes back again to understanding the socio-economic dynamics in a specific area. When we opened up in BGC, there's a specific price point. And it seemed to me that their basket size was the same basket size that they had when people were going to my market before, meaning the amount that they would purchase per person is still the same, and the amount that they would purchase in MOA, Mall of Asia, it's a smaller basket size, but it's almost consistent with what we had when we were present in that market many years ago. But I guess the difference now there is that the number of times that they actually go out to eat is different. So, ibig sabihin, kung pupunta ako, parang either baka mag-ipon sila, or diba, if I go there, parang I want it to be a good experience for me. Parang I won't go there before, maybe like you'd go there 2 to 3 times a week. But now, maybe you go there once or twice every other week. So when you go out, it's just that it lessens you don't eat there as often, But when you go out, you make it. You buy what you're used to. You buy what you're used to.
Just to put everything to a close, any final words for would-be entrepreneurs for 2021, and maybe the ones that got hit today because of the pandemic? And also, you have a very, very brand new podcast, which is one of the best already in the country. Can you tell more people about that as we put this to a close?
Yeah, sure, sure. So again, no, I mean, I go back again to the entrepreneurial mindset. Now, your job is to, if you wear that entrepreneurial hat, it's just that you got to keep on finding the pain points that you want to solve. And I realized that during this crisis, the way that I ran my business in the past actually might have been the most effective or efficient way to run the business. Right now, I saw better business models on how to run the business. Parang yung silver lining dyan, di ba? It's a learning process, and it's what you took coming into the crisis. So, like, we all failed. I failed before the crisis. I failed during this crisis. But it's the way that you look at it. The failure is an investment in learning on how to do things better. And it's getting better and better for us. And even Joey Concepcion, the presidential advisor on entrepreneurship, said, he said to me, RJ, we just have to roll with the punches. It happens to any entrepreneur. This isn't the first crisis we faced. It's one of the deepest ones we faced, but it's not the only one we've faced. Alala ko we also interviewed the head of Century Properties, si Ambassador Joey Antonio. Sabi niya, I went through 5 crises already. What makes you better, stronger? Kumbaga yung muscle memory mo to deal with this crisis might get much, much better. My partner, Jose Magsaysay Jomag, they shut down before. He had to shut down from 140 branches of Potato Corner, dropped to about 20 branches during the Asian economic crisis. And now look where it is, di ba? He grew it again to 2,000 because he learned a lot. He learned a lot during the previous crisis. And what you build are things which are both hard and soft skills, which is the resilience which you need, and some of the financial mindset that you need to get through that one. So you just sort of have to power through that one and just say, okay, take your losses and then move on, diba? Hard to dwell on them right now, and especially and the thing is also at the same time, to give credit to me, my wife, she was working. We were working day and night to solve these things, diba? That's really what we were focused on creating new solutions, and more importantly, providing work for the people, providing income for the people who work for us, and work for the people who went out of work because they were part of our Mercato ecosystem. So that's key. That just keep your mind focused on opportunities which keep on emerging. If right now you've lost some money as a crisis and you don't have any pampuhunan ngayon, my puhunan is basically laway, diba, for many of the projects which I do right now. But there are many things which you can do right now which don't require income. I mean, if it comes to that one, you've got things like insurance. I work together with a company called Filipino Homes, which also markets real estate. They're very good at it's basically puhunan capital which you work with. I mean, there are many ways to regain that or even people who do podcasting. I mean, it's a long burn, but for many people there who get into it, or TikTok or these different things, I mean, there are many ways to do it, diba? So right now, there are things which you didn't think that you could do before the crisis, which you're doing now during the crisis, because all of a sudden you've loosened up your expectations of yourself or expectations of other businesses. So parang ganyan, don't be too hard on yourself, and be kumbaga, like what they say, network marketing, be open-minded, diba? Be open-minded to what are the opportunities that are emerging for you during this time. Then eventually, you can work your way back. In fact, you might discover something during this crisis that might be an even better business opportunity than before. Remember, businesses like Pinterest, Groupon, Airbnb, Uber, all these businesses were formed during the U.S. economic recession back in 2008 in the States. Our BPO industry grew the fastest during the U.S. economic recession because they were transferring their businesses over here. So what does that tell us? That in crisis there's opportunity, and there's an opportunity to build sustainable long-term businesses out of crises, diba? We just have to keep on looking for what those businesses are. And I'm hoping that I'm praying that the businesses which I'm thinking that are emerging and pivoting from Mercato are sustainable, that they don't just last during this crisis, but outside of this crisis, they might do even better. And lastly, I have my podcast. It's called the RJ Ledesma podcast. I come out on Facebook Live on the RJ Ledesma podcast page every Tuesdays at 7 p.m. But it's also available online on Spotify, on Apple. Please give it a listen. I interview some of the country's pioneering business personalities, influencers, executives, people I really like. I like to hear and talk to about. And I discover, what is their, it's not too much about the business that they're doing, but how they got there. What did they think? What's their advice? And that's what I find the most interesting things. The most powerful part over there is listening to their stories of success and stories of failure at the same time, because there's so much you can learn from that. So again, please follow the RJ Ledesma podcast.
Got it. So much insights, guys. So if you guys are learning, put it in the comment section. I'm learning. I love RJ Ledesma. RJ, thank you for sharing all of your experiences and expertise as well. But before I let you go, this is what we do here. Fast talk. Two choices, no right or wrong. Whatever comes out at the top of your head, just give it a whirl. Okay, steak or salmon?
Steak.
Okay, success or significance?
Significance.
Large, massive mansion or travel the world?
Travel the world.
Winning 100 times but losing 50 times, or win once but not lose at all?
Yung number one.
Okay, haba no. 100 million doing what you love, or 1 billion doing something you do not love?
Number one.
Work hard, work smart.
Work smart.
US dollar, euro?
Dollar pa rin.
Bitcoin, gold?
Gold.
Fitness, finance?
Fitness.
City or country?
Mahirap yan. Sige. Yung country na malapit sa city.
Condo or house?
House.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Cut loss or hold on and fight for the business?
Maybe fight for the business.
Die with a lot of money or die fulfilling purpose?
Die fulfilling purpose.
Win one time, big time, or small but repeatedly?
Small but repeatedly.
Money or love?
Love.
Safe or aggressive?
Aggressive.
Thank you so much, RJ Ledesma, for joining us. So, to everyone, I hope this video helps you trade well, trade strong, trade smart. See you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.
Big misconception is that investing in real estate, you need tons of capital on hand to begin investing. Just takes a lot of upfront money. But the truth is that you are able to use the system kind of work in your favor. So in the US specifically, there's a lot of down payment assistance programs, especially if you're buying the home to live in. So it's kind of a legal loophole where you are able to buy a property as a homeowner and live in the property, but you can buy a property that's a multifamily property up to 4 units. And then I can live in 1 unit and I can use that down payment assistance program. So I'm not having to put down 20%. I only have to put down 3.5%, but then I can rent out all the other units. That money kind of comes back to not only pay your mortgage, but also put money into your pocket.